Good.
Did you print it?
No, they print it for me.
Oh, they did. I was gonna say.
Good evening and welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Temecula Planning Commission. I call the meeting to order. Could we have a flag salute led by Vice Chairperson Shirley Trejo?
Sure. Please stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman. Commissioner Hagel,
Here?
Commissioner Ruiz,
Here.
Vice Chair Turley Trail,
Here?
Chairman Watts,
Here.
and we have one absence from Commissioner Telesio.
Okay, quick note on tonight's agenda. We will be considering agenda items 3, 4, and 5 as one. And that's the only change I think we need to be advised of now. All right, so public comment. Do we have any speakers for public comment tonight?
We have none.
Okay, with that, I will dispense with the public comment reading and move to the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless members of the commission request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the commission on items that appear on the consent calendar. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission secretary or by submitting an email to be read aloud into the record at the meeting. Email comments must be submitted to the Planning Commission at temeculaca.gov. Speaker cards for in-person comments will be called in the order received by the commission secretary, and then if time remains, email comments will be read. Email comments on all matters must be received prior to the time the item is called for public comments. All public participation is governed by the council policy regarding public participation at meetings adopted by resolution number 2021-54. On our consent calendar tonight, we have the minutes from our last meeting of September 21st, 2022.
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Hagel, seconded by Commissioner Ruiz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's a 4-0 vote in the affirmative. Next thing, we go to business. Do we have any speakers that want to speak tonight on our business item?
We have no speakers under business.
Okay. I think I'm okay to skip that part then. And we will move to number 2 on our agenda, receive a presentation on the draft quality of life master plan. Could we have a staff report, please? It's not on.
No.
Good evening.
There you go.
There we go. Good evening, chairman and commissioners and staff. I'm Matt Peters. Normally I'd present from the dais, but I'm going to share this presentation with our consultant, Doug Svensson from Applied Development Economics, to present the Quality of Life Master Plan. So the agenda for tonight, what we're going to do is describe the Quality of Life Master Plan update and how it's used by the city. We'll talk about our public input and community engagement efforts. We'll present the draft vision statement, and then I'm going to turn it over to Doug Svensson, and he'll go over the Quality of Life Master Plan draft and the Citizens 20 Years Priority Timeline, and then we'll talk about next steps. And really, this is the last step before we go to the City Council in November. So we've gone to all of the other boards and commissions, and this is our last stop. So what is the QLMP? It's a broad-level visionary document. It identifies the city's core values, which comprise quality of life, and it's used in the city's budgeting process. So for all of our staff, any projects or programs that make its way into the annual operating budget or the capital improvements program, those must be justified in terms of how they help achieve the goals and objectives in each of the core values in the QLMP. And our core values consist of a safe and prepared community, transportation, mobility, and connectivity, healthy and livable city, economic prosperity, sustainable and resilient city, accountable and responsive city government, and finally, equity. And all of those together, the overlapping rings, all of those make up quality of life in the city of Temecula. This next graphic, it is a pretty busy graphic. I think you've seen this before, but this is our 4-phase plan for updating the general plan. And in phase 1, which is nearly complete, we updated the housing and public safety elements, and we modified our CEQA guidelines to address vehicle miles traveled for CEQA in addition to level of service. So that was phase 1. Phase 2, the main work task in phase 2 was the quality of life master plan, as well as some other studies and some mapping that we're in the process of doing. But phase 2 is nearly complete, so we're making the transition into phase 3, and that will include a fiscal land use study and basically the preparation of a request for proposals. We're going to go out and hire a consultant to help us then finish the general plan and an EIR in phase 4. Phase 2, you can see that arrow. The purpose of the quality of life master plan update in terms of the timing of that schedule is so that that could be the foundation for the general plan update. So we would slot all of those mandatory elements required by state law underneath the core values. So our community engagement efforts, the first thing we did was a survey. We hired True North Research to do a community survey, and that was a statistically valid survey with an overall margin of error plus or minus 3.2%. And basically that's our community report card on facilities and programs, traffic, economic development, and parks and recreation. And thankfully, resident satisfaction is high and city government is viewed positively. And I say that because we did that survey during the pandemic when there were maybe some unhappy people during that time. But some of the opportunity areas where we can improve include traffic, residential growth, homelessness, and city resident communication. And results were used to inform the Blue Ribbon Committee and the QLMP update process. So when we had each of our BRC meetings, Blue Ribbon Committee meetings, we presented the appropriate results from the survey that helped inform that process. So when we were going through and developing goals and objectives and modifying our vision statement, we used that survey to help inform the process. As for the Blue Ribbon Committee, or BRC, April of 21, the City Council appointed the Blue Ribbon Committee, and it was purposely intended to be a diverse group of stakeholders representing a variety of interests. In addition to the community stakeholders, the BRC was made up of the General Plan Update Subcommittee with the initials, it was Mayor Ron and Councilmember Edwards. And then we had a representative from each of the commissions and boards. So we had Commissioner Maddox from Public Traffic Safety, Commissioner Sizemore from Community Services, yours truly, Commissioner Turley Trejo from the Planning Commission, Commissioner Faulkner from the Ready Commission, and Ross Jackson from the Old Town Local Review Board was also on the Blue Ribbon Committee. As far as the community representatives, I won't read them all, but it was definitely a diverse group. You can see it ranged from the CEO of the hospital to a representative from MSJC, the school district, Camp Pendleton, the Sierra Club. It was a very diverse group. As for our publicly noticed meetings and workshops, we had 2 city council workshops. As part of the process, we had 10 commission meetings, 2 meetings in May and November with each of the 4 commissions and the 1 board. We had 2 additional meetings with the Ready Commission, specifically on that new equity core value. We had 7 BRC meetings and 2 virtual workshops online. As I mentioned, it was during COVID, so those who weren't comfortable attending meetings in person, we had the virtual workshops. So that was 19 total meetings and 4 public workshops. We also had some pop-up events to reach out to the community on Saturdays, just to inform them of the process and to get their feedback. So we were at the Saturday Farmers Market in Old Town. We were at the grand opening of the Somers Bend Sports Park. We were at the special games at Great Oak High School, and then Culture Fest in Old Town. In addition to the True North survey that we did a more specific survey just on the quality of life master plan. So we asked questions of the community specific to the core values and the goals and objectives, and that was a supplement to the True North survey. In addition, we did a lot of social media outreach. So we had 16 total posts through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And this graphic came from our city manager's office where they do the posting. And we had 473 likes, 41 comments, 82 shares, and nearly 50,000 impressions. What I'm told is that's fantastic. So for those of you on Facebook and Instagram, that's pretty amazing. And then in addition, before each of the council meetings throughout the process of the QLMP update, we were on Channel 3, advertising the process, directing people to the website. We've had the QLMP logo on the homepage of the city's website for months. And then there's the city app, and we're also on the homepage or the landing page for that city app. So we've been front and center now for months. In addition, we had a dedicated website, so if you went to temeculaca.gov/QLMP, you could take a look at the document. All of the videos recorded, so you could watch them if you didn't attend. The survey results are on there. There was a feedback button, and people could sign up for email notifications. In addition to that, we emailed or hand-delivered flyers to the affordable housing complex managers. We're in the process of doing those inspections now. And we know the managers, we can hand those out. We gave out extra copies for residents. We handed out the flyers to various nonprofit organizations, the Mary Phillips Senior Center, and several coffee shops. And I have a copy of what we handed out. It would direct people to the website, and then that QR code, if you scanned it, you could go to the survey. We also handed out business cards to all the city council members to hand out to constituents. So as we were going through the process, they were getting a lot of questions. We put this in their mailbox, and again, directing people to the website and the survey. And then paper surveys were always made available upon request. In addition to that, when we got through the QLMP survey and we got the results, one of the things we noticed was there was a missing demographic, and that was from youth and young adults. So we did another survey specific to that so we could get their feedback. It was very important to the BRC to find out what they were saying about what's needed in the community. So in addition to the survey, we had a roundtable discussion with the Youth Advisory Committee. We handed out the survey through the preschool program to all the parents bringing in their children to the preschool program. And then we shared that survey with the DEI, or Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Coordinator at TVUSD, and they pushed that out to all the student organizations. We got a good response from that survey as well. And then if all of that wasn't enough, we advertised for months on the Automall sign. We were on a 30-second loop. And if you're wondering, there are 166,000 cars per day on that freeway. So we're very proud of the public effort we did, public outreach we did as part of this effort. And hopefully that's paid off. What I'd like to talk about next, before I turn it over to Doug, is the draft vision statement. So Commissioner Turley Trejo can attest to this. We had a few conversations at BRC meetings, and we really struggled with the vision statement. And finally, we took some of that feedback and we said, what are the foundations for a potential vision statement? So we looked at the city seal, which has old traditions and new opportunities. And then these council chambers are the Jeff Comachero council chambers, and he had a saying, you never regret doing it right. I remember it being, you never regret doing it right the first time. And then there's something we also refer to as staff as the Temecula way. So all of that turned into this draft vision statement, which is, with a deep understanding of our history, the city of Temecula is a community and culture on the move. We are dedicated to family, neighborhoods, economic prosperity, education, health, and safety. Focused on doing it right the first time, we continue to pursue the highest quality of life for all, something we call the Temecula way. So with that, I'll turn it over to Doug. He's going to go through all the key themes in the Citizens Priorities Timeline, and then we'll be happy to answer your questions. As I've mentioned before, this is the last stop before we go to the City Council, but the purpose of this is receive and file, but also to get your feedback and answer any questions you have. And then I'll be preparing a staff report that summarizes all of the feedback from the different commissions, and that'll be taken to the City Council.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff, I'm Doug Svensson with Applied Development Economics, and I'd like to take a few moments tonight to highlight some of the key themes that emerged during this QLMP update process. Safety is the number one attribute that citizens appreciate about Temecula, and this came through very strongly in the survey research and other engagement output that we received. So this is embodied in the Safe and Prepared Community core value, and there's a strong focus on community-oriented policing and maximizing community involvement with public safety throughout the document. There's also an expanded emphasis on emergency response planning, which is kind of a new aspect of public safety. And so there's the need for a new emergency response master plan and a number of other documents that go along with that, as well as city efforts to train citizens directly to be able to respond when situations occur, disasters, emergencies, and so forth. So there are several different programs the city administers to give citizens opportunities for different kinds of training, and we're looking to expand those efforts. Much of that is provided through the fire department. The fire department is also looking to expand their facilities to improve their own training capabilities as well as their actual response capabilities. Secondly, the local economy is clearly a high priority for everyone, and this is embodied in the economic prosperity core value. And one of the key proposals that emerged through the discussion is the idea of expanding the career technical education center and curricula that are available to young people in Temecula, and linking together coursework that's available through the Temecula Valley Unified School District and Mount San Jacinto College, as well as CSU San Marcos, into a comprehensive and cohesive system that allows young people to move through and get careers in jobs that actually exist here in Temecula. And so that was a major focus of the work that the Blue Ribbon Committee discussed. In addition, focusing on the entrepreneurial atmosphere in Temecula, the Economic Development Department has a strong focus on that and working with small business. One of the things we heard from citizens, again through the survey work, is they associate the small town atmosphere that they appreciate in Temecula with independently owned small businesses. And so those things are linked closely together. And it's reinforced in the other core values: transportation, mobility, and promoting job growth in Temecula to reduce commuting and reduce traffic there, as well as in the equity core value in terms of creating prosperous opportunities for everyone. Matt mentioned that we made a special effort to make sure we heard from young people through the process, and this was a big concern of the Blue Ribbon Committee. So there are a number of areas where the QLMP addresses services and facilities and programs for young people, primarily recreational, but also cultural and other kinds of community engagement facilities and programs, as well as integrating and expanding teen facilities and services at the Community Recreation Center. And the CTE enhancement is a direct offshoot of that. As well, in the equity core value, there's more emphasis on getting young people involved in the youth and government programs that are available. Resiliency, I think we're all aware, as I mentioned earlier, the emphasis on emergency management planning. There's a greater need to build resiliency into infrastructure, services, the economy, every aspect of community life. And so that has been added to the sustainable city core value in a number of ways, and also reinforced through safe and prepared community, transportation and connectivity in terms of increasing mobility options for people, and in the accountable and responsive city government through maintaining flexible organization, because we don't always know what's going to hit us, but being able to respond quickly and flexibly is key. Along those same lines, there are a number of additions to the environmental quality aspects of the QLMP. We added a goal for a climate action plan, which will be done as part of the general plan process, but also a number of other efforts are referenced, including a stormwater management plan, greenway planning, which links the trail systems with the stormwater runoff and the creek systems to create an integrated system. And a major focus, and this came from the BRC, on public education around a lot of these issues, because if everyone has the same thing in mind and is working individually in the same direction, then a lot of the planning that the city does is going to be more successful. There are other elements in terms of increasing the trail mileage and increasing the ratings for bicycle friendliness in the city to get more active transportation options. And also, even in economic prosperity, there's a goal that recognizes how important the quality of the environment is for business retention and attraction. A lot of these issues need to be addressed at a regional level. Temecula sees a lot of traffic passing through from other communities. There's a need to work with the county, the other communities in this region, San Diego County, to help create regional solutions to some of these major traffic problems. In addition, that carries over to a number of the environmental issues, including stormwater runoff plans and integrated watershed management plan. Temecula is a very forward-thinking city. I work all over the state of California and the western U.S., and I have to say that I think Temecula is unique in a lot of ways. And so there's a lot of emphasis here on upgrading the technology that the city uses to make its services more effective and more efficient, including developing greater use of paperless technology, installing smart city technology throughout to increase the efficiency of service delivery, building out the city's fiber optic network, which not only improves services but benefits the residents and local community. And also on the transportation side, implementing the Neighborhood Electric Vehicle System program. Housing was a major discussion at a number of the BRC meetings. It's clear that there's a need for what we would call workforce housing. In Temecula, that's termed attainable housing, housing that's affordable for people who work here. And so there's a whole spectrum of housing types that are needed to meet the needs of different kinds of households, workers at different parts of the affordability spectrum. So that's been worked through not only in economic prosperity, but in the health and livable city core value, and in equity in terms of making sure that there are affordable housing options. And finally, this QLMP includes a new core value for equity. This was addressed at direction of the City Council. We met with the Ready Commission twice to develop the goals and objectives that are included, and we devoted an entire Blue Ribbon Committee meeting to this topic. So this equity core value adds 4 new goals, including fair and equitable treatment of all human beings, foster a healthy environment and prosperous opportunities, which I mentioned previously, extensive communication and outreach between the city and its residents and among residents, and dedicating the resources to ensure that there aren't barriers that impede access for all members of the community. Future strategic objectives include creating a dashboard of indicators, and by the way, the QLMP itself will be a dashboard on the city's website. Once it's adopted, then residents will be able to look at the city's progress on the various indicators in more or less in real time. but also completing implementation of the READY initiative and continued advocacy for underrepresented groups in the community. The QLMP includes an updated timeline of projects over the next 18 to 20 years, and I'll just highlight a few of these. The timeframes here are broad. They're intended to indicate the general time when we hope to complete these projects. A lot of them are already underway, and so will take a number of years to complete, and so these are kind of what we hope the endpoints are. But in the initial period over the next 3 years, implementing a comprehensive community policing strategy, a quality of life team, developing the digital dashboard of indicators, the Career Technical Education Center, building a new Margarita Recreational Center with intergenerational programming, as well as a number of other recreation and transportation improvements. Over the medium term, we expect to complete the general plan update along with things like the Stormwater Master Plan, the Emergency Management Master Plan, Climate Action Plan. All of those things also includes some major private sector improvements that we know are in the works, such as the expansion of the Temecula Valley Hospital and improvement of the tourism marketing around wineries, Old Town, and the whole tourism connection. And then finally, in the longer term, some of the bigger items that the community is interested in but will take some time to plan and fund, such as a performing arts center, aquatics facility with an Olympic pool, transportation improvements like a western bypass corridor, or the final completion of the French Valley Parkway interchange, so some of the major projects. So there's a wide range of projects here. One of the reasons the QLMP is being updated at this point in time is because the city basically was ahead of schedule in achieving a lot of the objectives that were in the original QLMP. And so this is a new set of projects and goals to undertake. As Matt mentioned, our next step is to take your feedback and relay to the City Council and get their input and determination on approval. So we look forward to your comments and any questions you might have this evening. At this point, we'd love to open it up to your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Matt. We'll open it up for questions. I'll start over here. Am I right?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Ton of work's obviously gone into this, and appreciate being included on that. Lene, thank you for your participation in the Blue Ribbon Committee as well. And I do want to commend, this is such a big, strong document for the city, and like you mentioned, we've seen this multiple times. We've been included in the process, so I feel like I learn something new each time we see it, but it has been very nice to have received the updates, received the feedback and input and all of that for you guys. Comment on the word attainable housing. Thank you for putting that in there. I know what it means, but affordable housing has a different connotation, and I think that transition into attainable and workforce housing is really important. I think the community appreciates that, and I think that's a very strong word to put in there and the importance of what we're trying to accomplish. So kudos on that. I did have a question. You had mentioned that this would be part of the landing page on the city website. So in our packet, we have the little draft of it. The community has been so vested in this process for the last couple of years. Will they get a copy of this kind of draft, or would that be part of the app? Not so much measuring the progress as we go along, but the actual document themselves, so they can see what we've done and what they've been able to be a part of for the last couple of years.
So the document will be made available when we prepare the staff report for the city council meeting. And then it'll be online and available for the whole community.
Okay, I just think it'd be good. I know we utilize the app and that there's a button on there for now, but to have this document, it's nice when you're included and you've done all the surveys and you feel like you've participated, and then at the end, where is it? What does it look like? I don't remember the last QMLP. I don't know how many other residents do, but those that have been a part of this, it would be nice to know that, hey, it's done, it's been approved, it's been adopted, and this is what I was able to take part of. So I would encourage that maybe on the website additionally, or the app, or just other areas where we've been utilizing that contact.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for that feedback. I think we can do some social media outreach before the city council meeting, and then when it is available online, we'll push it that way.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. That was the only question I really had.
Well, comments are appropriate as well as questions, so. Bob, you ready?
Yes, I know a tremendous amount of hard work went into this, and the amount of outreach to me was beyond what I ever would have expected a city would do or could do. Doug, in your experience, do many cities have this kind of outreach that we've done? I think we've provided an opportunity for every resident in this city to be part of this.
No, I think it's been exceptional, particularly doing the True North survey as the city does on a regular basis, and then the additional, not only survey work, but the workshops and other opportunities for community to engage. I think it's, I was very happy to be part of the process, and I think it was certainly exceptional.
How much, by adding in the input from our teens, was there a lot of change to our plans? Tough, difficult question, but.
There were certainly some issues that they brought up that we wanted to be sure to include, that had to do with having opportunities for them to have activities at different age levels, and of course, as they grow, their interests and needs change. So the older teens and young 20s have a different scope of things that they are interested in than the younger age groups. Being able, having better mobility options, transit to get to places to
Right.
do the activities seems to me was a major thing that came through to us
Okay.
in the input that we got.
Because one of the concerns I had heard was accessibility varies tremendously depending upon where you live in the city, and that perhaps more could be done with the RTA to make those connections. Particularly, I guess, the south side of the city seemed to be a little bit more removed from some of the activities for the teens.
Yeah, two of the themes I remember was mobility, the ability to get around the city.
Right.
And then kind of that lost demographic. There's a lot for teens. There's the teen center and different teen activities. And then there's, college-age students, and you're 21 and you can go out. So that 17 to 20
Right.
demographic, they were looking for gathering places that weren't the teen center and
Right.
weren't the Stampede. And one of the things that was talked about was the business incubator, having some sort of program there for networking, resumes, sharing job information as a potential gathering place. So yeah, I think we got some good feedback from that demographic.
Good. So, thank you. This has been, I think all the work is well worth it because it sets the tone for everything that we do in the city, everything we do at this dais, and, I look forward to using it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a few statements since you are well acquainted with this. Doug and Matt, thank you. Great presentation. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I want to personally thank, as well as the commission, thank Lene for volunteering to sit on this committee. And I'm glad she did it. It was great representing the Planning Commission, and I hope she has some good things to say at the end of this. You mentioned the teens and the youth and everything. I know that you canvassed the Mary Phillips Senior Center, and I know you addressed senior needs, but was there any attempt to specifically have a senior representative or representing seniors on the committee? And if not, maybe for next time that would be something to consider. That's just a little suggestion. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
What?
So the Blue Ribbon Committee was, I would say it was fairly well represented from 20 through 20 and up. So I would say,
But
were there some seniors on there, Doug? There were some
they
seniors.
representing senior issues, or were they representing a broad spectrum of issues? That's just my point.
Yeah. Point well taken. I do think they represented some of those senior interests, yeah.
Just in the future, something like that may be something to consider. Actually, the document I thought was excellent. That's not the whole thing, but at least the executive summary, Matt. Well done. I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting I'd find more objections to some things, but all in all, it's great. I'm a big planning believer, obviously on the commission, but my whole life has been spent with plans and parks and that types of things. And it's such a great roadmap to get to where you want to go. And obviously Temecula's done it before, and they're going to do it again with this master plan. So excellent work there. I think that's the gist of my suggestions, so.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Matt especially for all your work and your communication with the committee. And, you know, besides everything else you do in planning, this was a big thing to be in charge of and handle the way you did, and you did a great job with it. And thank you to our consulting team also, and also all the people that were on the committee. It was very diverse, and we had a lot of interesting conversations. And I think, you know, the final document is a good representation of everybody that was represented, I think. So just, I actually called Matt yesterday because I didn't want to I went through it with a, you know, fine-tooth comb, because this is my baby too, right?
Line by line. Line by line.
I did, line by line. And so just a couple of things. So he has all my notes of everything I shared with him, because I think from here, it goes to the subcommittee, city council subcommittee, correct?
That's correct.
And so there was a couple of things that I wanted to highlight that I would like to suggest to take to the subcommittee. And one thing you already changed, I saw that on the wheel, which was awesome. So if you look at the first page, actually it says page 7, but the executive summary page, where it shows the 7 core values, that little wheel. So anyway, I just suggested that as you read it clockwise, and it's not in order there clockwise, and so Matt changed that so that you actually end up with equity on the left side of safe and prepared community. That might not mean a lot to you guys, but
That graphic was an older graphic, and that
Oh.
followed the order of the chapters.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
something happened between now and then.
Oh, okay.
But I think it makes sense to put the wheel in the order of the
Yeah,
chapters.
it does.
Clockwise.
anyway, okay, so you didn't change it for me, is what you're saying?
Not yet, but I'm recommending that.
Okay, awesome. Well, then I'll take back that thank you. Okay. Then there were some other things that I think, you know, Temecula, like if you go through the whole document, there's accomplishments that we have, and I wanted those to be bolded or underlined so that people's eyes would go to that, because, you know, we've accomplished a lot as a city, and that's really important to highlight. And then also to highlight in bold some of the survey statistics that were really important. And that's really what we went by in making a lot of these decisions for this document, is from the surveys. So those kind of things needed to be bolded and highlighted. And then also, you know, just for you all to kind of realize, as we're looking at the projects on the timeline, we're way ahead of schedule. Like, you look at those projects on the timeline, and some of those things are already been voted on and started working on. So you look at it and you go, oh, that's like 20 years away, but it really isn't. So that was interesting to look at that. So the one thing that I mainly wanted to suggest to the subcommittee, and this is just something I've been thinking about a lot, and I think it's because I've been walking and knocking on doors and talking to people, and the word equity has been divisive in this community and continues to be. And so I would pose the question to the subcommittee as to, could we change that word to advocacy? And let me tell you why. So one of my businesses that I do is I'm an American Sign Language interpreter. And one thing that I learned when I went back to school to do this is that I'm an advocate for the deaf and hard of hearing community. And that word, so I not only advocate for them, but I empower them to advocate for themselves. And I think that's a powerful word, and I think that's really what we want. That's what we're saying here when we say equity. We want to be able to advocate for those that are not either able to advocate for themselves or empower them to advocate for themselves. And I think that it would be, you think about this being a document for 20 years. So we're giving, the next city council and the next city council and whoever this document and the city and the citizens. And so it's really important what we put in here. And so that's, for me, I think, one of the reasons for creating the Ready Commission was for veterans and special needs and those that are underserved. And I think we've gotten away from that a little bit with everything that's happened with the Ready Commission, and I think we need to bring that back. And one way to do that, I think, is to put that word in, is to use advocacy instead of equity. And that would be a core value, to advocate for those in our community. And I think it says it all, and I think it says it better, in a better way. So that's my suggestion to the subcommittee. But overall, I think it's a great document, and there's been a lot of work, and I know about a lot of it, and a lot of long nights with those meetings. And anyway, kudos to both of you for all the work that you've done to help us come up with this document. And so I thank you for listening to me, Matt, on those suggestions that I gave you yesterday and then tonight also, and for my colleagues. And I appreciate the opportunity that I had to work on the committee and feel like, like Adam says, a part of it, right? And the citizens being a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, we'll take the Planning Commission's comments, along with the other commission's comments, and we'll take those to the General Plan Update Subcommittee on Tuesday. There'll be a staff report summary, and then it'll go before the City Council in November 15th.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Just real quick, and I think I understand what you're talking about with that particular word. The only thing I would point out, and maybe it's just my professional world that I live in, but the word advocacy to me speaks legislative stuff. So like when I hear that word, I think, if advocacy is a core value, I'm thinking of the legislative, side of things, the political side of things. And so just some food for thought for that word, and maybe take that back. I mean, not to get into any of the subcommittee work, but just listening to what you said, I understand where you're going with that, but from somebody else to just see that as one of these values, that's where my mind takes that particular word. Just wanted to throw that up.
I appreciate that. I think what happens, though, with equity is people have a different definition all over the board on that one. So that's why that word concerns me.
The Temecula way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will receive that report and move on to our next item on our agenda. It's a public hearing. As I mentioned before, we're going to combine items 3, 4, and 5 into one item. And I will bear with me as I read each of these, and then we will turn it over to Mr. Cooper for a staff presentation. We're going to hear planning application. This is item number 3, planning application number PA22-0494, a home product review development plan for planning area 19 of the Rorapa Ranch specific plan to allow for 4 unique detached single-family plans with 3 architectural styles consisting of 16 lots. Second item is item number 4 on, I don't mean to confuse anyone, planning application number PA 22-0495, a home product review development plan for planning area 20, as in 20B of the Rorapa Ranch specific plan to allow for 4 unique detached single-family plans with 3 architectural styles consisting of 23 lots. And item number 5, planning application number PA 22-0496, a home product review development plan for planning area 21 of the Rorapa Ranch specific plan to allow for 6 unique detached single-family plans with 3 architectural styles consisting of 18 lots. And with that, we are ready for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, Planning Commissioners. As you stated, these are planning application numbers 220494, 220495, and 220496, which is the Somers Bend Shawwood Home Product Review for PAs 19, 20B, and 21. Again, as you already stated, planning area 19 is PA 220494, has 4 unique plans with 3 architectural styles consisting of 16 lots. Planning area 20B is PA 220495, 4 unique plans with 3 architectural styles consisting of 23 lots. And finally, planning area 21 is PA 220496, 6 unique plans with 3 architectural styles consisting of 18 lots. It's a total of 57 lots for these planning areas. A little bit of background. Back on June 2nd of last year, this Planning Commission did approve a home product review applications for these 3 planning areas. Since that approval, the applicant has changed the building technique used for these planning areas, which resulted in a new set of elevations and changes to the architectural styles. So that's why we're before you tonight again. Just to show you where the planning areas are on Somers Bend. You have PA 19, which is along the eastern boundary, PA 20B, and PA 21. Now going planning area by planning area, PA 19 has the 16 lots, 3,874 square feet to 4,974 square foot homes. There's half-acre lot minimums out there, and again, 4 floor plans and 3 architectural styles. This is an aerial, an old aerial, as there's a lot more homes out there now, of Somers Bend, and this shows the area of planning area 19. Planning area 20B is 23 lots, 3,203 square feet to 4,497 square foot homes. There's 20,000 square foot minimum lot sizes out here, and again, it's 4 floor plans and 3 architectural styles. PA 21 is 18 lots, 3,203 square feet to 4,974 square foot homes. Again, 20,000 square foot minimum lot sizes, and this one has 6 floor plans with the same 3 architectural styles. This is another old aerial of planning areas 20B and 21, and that shows where it's located along the southern edge of the project. So Shawwood, what is Shawwood? So Woodside Homes is a wholly owned subsidiary of Sasuke House, which is the largest residential builder in Japan. They also have additional operations in the US, the United Kingdom, Australia, Singapore, and China. Sasuke House is committed to contributing to a decarbonized society, having constructed more zero-net energy homes than any other company in the world. So the Shawwood construction technique recently received its full International Code Council, or ICC, certification for use across the United States. So it does feature a proprietary metal joint construction technique using laminated posts and beams assembled to create an external frame characterized by superior strength, assembling accuracy, and complete structural integrity with tolerances measured at 1 to 3 millimeters. So behind you, you have an example of that construction technique that shows the bracing. So it allows for flexible interior spaces, earthquake and seismic resistance, and minimal waste at the construction site. So bell-burn tiles, which are also behind you, those are the concrete tiles. They're a fire-resistant glazed porcelain ceramic tile material that maintains color for up to 60 years, and they're featured at select locations on the exterior of the homes, and I'll show you where those are on the elevations. So inside the homes, the homeowners can enjoy unique sight lines due to the clear span open spaces with minimal partition walls and high ceilings. So what do these homes look like? So here we have Plan 1, which is they have a Southwest option and an American farmhouse option. So aspects of the Southwest are the flat roof, deep set windows. On the American farmhouse, it's horizontal siding and vertical multi-paned windows. And this shows the location of where that bell burn tile will be on that elevation. Moving on to Plan 2, on the American farmhouse, board and batten siding. Again, the vertical multi-paned windows. On the Southwest, deep set windows and doors, and some stucco walls. And again, the bell burn tile locations. Plan 3, American farmhouse, you have the farmhouse style garage doors, horizontal siding. And then on the prairie, on this plan, the smooth flat concrete roof tiles and earth tones with contrasting trim. And then the location of the bell burn tile. Moving on to Plan 4, American farmhouse in Southwest again. You have the farmhouse style light fixtures to go with the garage doors, front to back gable roof. Moving on to the Southwest, you have the flat roof again, divided pane windows, and the location of the bell burn tile. On Plan 5, this has a prairie elevation. American farmhouse is a light to medium sand stucco, gable and vent detailing. On the prairie, you have horizontal design elements and earth tones with contrasting trim again. And then the location of the bell burn tile on the American farmhouse. Plan 6 are 2-story elevations, so much larger homes. On the American farmhouse, the vertical multi-paned windows, horizontal siding. On the prairie, 2-story massing with 1-story elements, and deep overhangs, and the location of the tile. And then finally, moving on to Plan 7, on the American farmhouse, front to back gable roof, board and batten siding, and on the prairie, vertical windows on the first floor, and a hip roof. And then finally, the location of those bell burn tiles. We do have several street scenes to show you out there. So this one has the prairie, and then next to the left of it would be an American farmhouse front elevation. Here you have a prairie 2-story elevation, and then again to the left of that would be a farmhouse as you go. Then it looks like there's a Southwest on the very end on the left of the screen. And then here you have the Southwest, in the middle is a prairie, and then on the far left is a American farmhouse. And then finally, you have American farmhouse up front, and then with that 2-story prairie, and then looks like another farmhouse there on the right. In terms of environmental, it's section, section 15162, which is subsequent EIRs and negative declarations, because the project is consistent with the previously adopted Aurora Power Ranch Environmental Impact Report and the subsequent addendums to that. So with that, staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve PA 220494, PA 220495, and PA 220496, subject to the conditions of approval. There's been no changes to the conditions of approval, so we don't have to read those tonight. And that concludes staff's report. I'm here for questions, and we have the 3 representatives from Woodside Homes are here as well.
Very good, and before I let you do that, before my colleagues pepper you with questions, I think I neglected to read the public hearing part of this before I open the public hearing too. I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak on the subject if they wish. So I will read this as I'm required to. Any person may submit written comments to the commission before a public hearing or may appear and be heard in support of or in opposition to the approval of the project at the time of the hearing. If you challenge any of the project in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the commission secretary at or prior to the public hearing. For public hearings, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission secretary or by submitting an email to be read aloud and to the record at the meeting. Email comments must be submitted to planningcommission@temeculaca.gov. Email comments on all matters, including those not on the agenda, must be received prior to the time the item is called for public comments. Any person dissatisfied with the decision of the commission may file an appeal of the commission's decision. Said appeal must be filed within 15 calendar days after service of written notice of the decision. The appeal must be filed on the appropriate Community Development Department form and be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee. All public participation is governed by the council policy regarding public participation at meetings adopted by resolution number 2021-54. So if you're out there desperate and anxious to come up and make comments, we're going to give you that opportunity to do so. Before I open the public hearing to the public, I would offer the opportunity to question staff.
Yeah, thank you. And if this is a better question for the applicant, please let me know. But because I was sat on the subcommittee, I got to see a little bit more of this type of construction. So just for clarification purposes, this is very new, unique, kind of a very technological type of construction. This would be one of the first ones in the U.S., right? Or these projects, either in the U.S. or definitely here in California, they've chosen kind of Temecula to launch that here, correct?
Correct. There's only a handful of homes built in the United States like this.
Very cool. And then just for my colleagues, because we were on the subcommittee, one of the cool parts on it also is just walls can be moved, and the construction is pretty unique. So thanks for the clarification. Just wanted to make sure I was connecting the dots appropriately. No additional questions.
Great segue. Can you go back to that slide about the Shawwood? That's what it's called, Shawwood, correct? And actually, maybe the one right before it, too.
Right before it?
The slide right before it, yeah. That was
there you go.
good. Yep, that was good. Yeah, so that's really cool. And so because of this, what is this called? What is this one called? What is this called?
The Bellburn tile.
So this is one of the reasons it's zero net?
I will
tile?
defer that to the
Oh, okay,
applicant.
I'll ask them. Yeah, anyway, I was really interested, and then maybe the next slide, and how the beams and everything, so maybe I'll ask them, but, yeah, very cool. I'd like to find out more about that. And thank you so much for all the material boards. You see, they're all on my desk. Oh, is this my desk? This is my desk. Yeah, they're all on my desk, and I really like being able to see them and touch them, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, you'll have to excuse this question because this kind of goes back several years, and I haven't only had the opportunity to see all the plans for the last year or so. But this particular neighborhood, the ingress, egress is in Plan Area 21, which is near the fire station, almost next to the fire station. Is there any other ingress and egress anywhere on that road at, say, in 19, Plan Area 19 towards the end?
Can you just wait until I open the public hearing and we'll have you come up?
Okay. Then, the answer can wait then, that's fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, very good. We will now open the public hearing. Do we have any public speakers?
We have no request for public
Okay.
speakers.
We would ask the applicant to step up and be able to answer any questions that my colleagues may have, or receive comments they may provide, either way, or both.
Excellent. Good evening, Mr. Chairperson, Planning Commissioners. It's great to be here. My name is Greg Hastings. I'm the Development Director at Summers Bend. We're all pretty well acquainted after 4 years of doing this. Trent Heiner.
Yeah, Trent Heiner, project manager for Summers Bend.
And Troy Wood.
Troy Wood, I'll be the guy building it.
Yep, Troy's going to be our general superintendent. He's been all over this thing. Yeah, I'll start by thanking staff. This is something new, right? New is exciting. It's exciting for us who've been doing the same sort of construction for 35 years to do something different. And I hope it was exciting for you guys to get your hands into this thing a little bit too. May 20 to June 21, we worked really hard on Talus, and we appreciate you guys approving our last version of our Homes for These great large perimeter lots at Summers Bend. And we've been working on this since May of 2021, so we're really excited. This is now Shawwood. Let's see. Scott touched about our parent, the Sakasui House. Shawwood is Sakasui House's proprietary premium construction technique, and I want to emphasize it's a premium construction technique. You saw a lot of the references. Scott stole a lot of my thunder over the quality and the types of these houses, but this is not the first time we've done it. So Chawa was the first one that was built. It was built for the International Builders Show and the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas about 4 years ago. Big success, big acclaim, and so they followed that up with 7 more just like it on sort of a semi-custom basis. So they tried to get it down so that it would start working its way towards a production sort of environment. First time, and then the second time. It's been built for many years in Japan. It was developed over 60 years. It was done in 30 labs, and it has over 800 patents, is what it took to get this thing together. The designs were approved in Vegas. They were embraced in Vegas. The consumers liked them. We went through a lot of plan check, inspection, and construction lessons learned. So Summers Bend is going to benefit from those lessons learned. Troy's been out there a ton. It's been great. I've been out there a couple times myself. We're responsible for getting this done, and we have lots of QC guys from the Japan team that have been pretty much living in our trailer for the last year. So it's been a great experience for all of us. Let's see, so post and beam construction, we talked about the strength and the precision, but flexibility came up. Flexibility being, because this post and beam construction creates a monocoque shell. Think of a race car, where the outside of the race car protects the driver. It's very firm and strong. These houses are built the same way, but what that allows you to do is move some of the non-bearing walls inside the house very easily. So you can change a 2-bedroom to a double master, or you can make lots of changes within the walls pretty easily. Sakasui House does 55,000 homes a year. 1/3 of those are new construction and 2/3 are remodels. And those remodels are because in Japan you own a lot and it stays in your family for 3 or 4 generations. And each time your lifestyle or your life stage changes, you go back to your original builder and he helps you redo the inside of the home. So these materials like the Bellburn, that's got a 60-year lifespan on it for color, strength, integrity, everything else. It's fire resistant. It's great for California right about now. So there's a lot of attributes to it. The zero net energy thing, they've been a leader in zero net energy, so we're diving into zero net energy here. Our homes will be standard zero net energy ready, which is a Department of Energy certification, and our home buyers will be able to option them to full zero net energy homes, full ZNE. So it's really thrilled to be able to offer that as well. A couple of other things I wanted to bring up is design. These homes feature a real strong connection to the outside. Indoor-outdoor living is a major feature of the design. And functionality. There's a real emphasis on comfort for our home buyers. Construction sites, clean as you've ever seen. All this stuff comes pre-cut. We put it together at the site, but there's no waste. They are so clean. There's nothing to recycle. It's incredible. It's really been fun to experience. And then the materials themselves, we get our framing lumber now from softwood from Canada and here and there, and it's shipped in. This is Scandinavian lumber. It stops in Japan. It's cut in the factories to exact specifications. Every single piece of these houses is shipped here in shipping containers. It'll get off in Long Beach. It'll go to our truss yard in Paris, and then it'll come just-in-time delivery to the job site as we pour the slabs and go vertical with these things. They frame way faster than a standard home. It's really fun to see. And yeah, we use local trades. Our framer and our concrete guy have been out to Las Vegas 2 or 3 times, and our mason is going next. So these homes are built with local trades. And it's just the lumber comes from Scandinavia with a stop in Japan. So, you know, we're looking at these lots at what is essentially Summers Bend's become the crown jewel of Temecula. these lots are the crown jewel of Summers Bend, and we anticipate a lot of local, regional, and national attention to this project as it's constructed, and we're really thrilled our parent picked Summers Bend to be version 3 as this thing kind of transforms into a full production sort of construction. So we have it to a point where it's about the high end of production home building, but as it's built throughout other places in California and other parts of the West, we will bring this to a point where we can build this in a full production environment at the middle of the market and the like. So this is a perfect version 3 of this house. It's pretty high end, and this eventually is going to make its way down to our, mid-priced production homes all over the place. So that's what I have. If you have any questions for us, we're here to answer them.
Well, we'll see. You care to go first, Adam?
Yeah, I just have one real quick question, because I've seen your presentations. I think it's really unique and impressive, and like seeing the new technology coming forward. Because it is a new style of construction, do you guys plan to have like a demo home or something, so people can see and understand the difference, or is it going to look like another construction site to the general public?
Yeah, no, that's, look, Adam and Gary had a preview of this a little while ago, and they were super helpful, gave us some great feedback. One of the cool things about this is, one, we've built an 8x8 model at the job site. So you can come by, and before we build our models out and our experience center out, you can see it out there and we can demonstrate it. So we have this little preview out there. All of our trades have been out there. The guys from the city have been out there. We've been able to see the posts, the beams, how the bell burn goes on, and the windows, and the waterproofing details, and everything that we do that's special. When we build this project out, our model complex is being submitted in the next week or two to Scott. We're going to have an experience center, and then like a VIP facility. The experience center is going to be totally unique. Think you went into a Apple showroom or something like that. So different approach. We'll have a big emphasis on the construction technique. In other words, as you come into the experience center, you're going to go through some framing, the post and beam demoed right there. We have the ability to build a little model. We'll probably do a smaller model than the one that's out in the middle of lot 17 right now, but we will build probably a 4x4 or a 5x5 building inside of the experience center, and then we will emphasize all of the traits of the home, and we will just be going on an educational journey with our buyers, not trying to sell them lot 17, but educating them on Shawwood. It's going to be a completely different approach than trying to sell someone a home on a lot, as we do at Acacia or Upton or any of our projects out at Summers Bend, successfully, but just this is going to be a different approach, way different.
Very cool. I think that's smart to do. Give everyone the opportunity to see, because it is different. It is something that hasn't been seen probably ever for a lot of people. So I think
and
I
that's
think
the
it's going
key.
to be really cool.
Video walls, all sorts of ways where we can demonstrate this stuff. We're going to be doing all sorts of things differently. In fact, our sales and marketing people are in Japan right now, seeing all of the sort of R&D facilities, the sales centers, the experience centers, everything the way they do it there. And they're going to take a greatest hits. And we're going to apply them to what is the best approach for Southern California. This is a Southern California project. We've all been doing this here for a long time. So we're going to take greatest hits from what they're able to find. And the construction guys get to go. So we're going in late November, early December, and we're getting on the site tour of how these things are built.
Very cool. Thank you.
So, excited.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that.
Yeah.
For sure. My son's an architect, and he does net zero homes in Maine. So he would be fascinated with this. And I will say that after seeing all the materials and then seeing the street, what do they call it, street scene slides, that I was kind of like, the Southwest was like, wasn't so sure about that look. But when they're mixed together, it gives a very different feel, and actually liked the combination of it. So anyway, it was interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just had the ingress, egress question. I know it's all
Yes.
along one road.
Going to help you with that.
Yeah.
So there's 3 planning areas.
Right.
The 2 on the south are joined together.
Right.
The street goes all the way through. There's a gate on each end. So that area of PA 21 and 20B, I guess it's called,
Right.
has a gate on one end and a gate on the other. So there is two ways out.
It does,
It's a
okay.
private gated community, private street.
Right.
And then PA 19 is across the street from our Acacia project. It's not gated,
Yeah,
and it has, it's like a barbell where it has
Okay.
a cul-de-sac at each end.
okay, great.
And you
That's-
get in and out through the same Acacia entrance.
That's perfect,
Yeah,
because
it's
I
been-
was just concerned about safety and,
No, you're right.
Yeah,
It's a two,
yeah,
it's one, there's two ways in and out.
right, yeah.
Yeah, it should be good. And it's single loaded for about 2/3 of the street.
Right, I
Which
noticed
is
that.
nice.
Yeah. I've been there about 2 or 3 dozen times, so.
Yeah. So's Trent.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I did notice the Southwest style, and I do love the Southwest style. There is some other locations in Temecula where there is a couple homes that are Southwest style, and I always thought it fit Temecula well, and I'm glad to see that you're bringing it forward, particularly when it's mixed in with the others. It really does look good. So,
Thank you. We had a lot of help from staff on ironing that out, right? And I think we found something that's going to work really well.
yeah,
I mean, we took those elevations and you saw them individually, but the architect also put together a little video of what it
Right.
would look like if you drive down the street in your car, and it looks really, it's really fun. It's going to look really good in the future.
Okay, and just so you know, I had the same reaction at first to the Southwest. You remember that probably, but
Just-
having seen that now, beautiful.
Good.
one other thing, if the quality of this construction is anywhere near what you've been doing in Acacia, I've been extremely impressed. I've got to see a home built from scratch in Acacia, and I've noticed a lot of the little things that you all do that I have not seen done by any other builder. Screwing down all of the floorboards on the second floor. What a difference that makes. It sounds like a little thing, but you don't hear any squeaking when the kids are running, back and forth in the house and everything. So there makes all those little small details make a huge difference.
Thank you.
Okay, last call for any public comments. I don't see any. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Greg, Trent, Troy, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you throughout this whole process.
Yeah,
Thank you for your explanations. It's very good, helpful for all of us.
No doubt. We really enjoyed it ourselves. Hopefully, we can keep rolling, do a couple more projects up here.
Okay, so that leads us into discussion and potential motion. So anybody care to lead off? Lene, you look like you're ready.
I'll make a motion to, I don't
Well,
know.
does
Is there
anybody-
discussion? Does anybody have any discussion? So
Looks like we're ready for a motion.
we're ready for a motion. Okay, so I move items 3, 4, and 5 as written, and that's my motion.
I will second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Turley-Trejo, seconded by Commissioner Ruiz. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's a 4-0 vote. And to sum it up, just pleased as punch with everything you've done. And I know Adam and I, when we were briefed on the subcommittee, that the style was so unique and so different, and then it looked like it's so great. And I am really pleased on behalf of the city of Temecula that we're going to have these in our city. And I think they're going to be a hit beyond belief. So congratulations. We're very pleased with it. Okay, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. Planning application, this is item number 6, planning application number PA 22-0996, a modification application to allow for certain conditions of approval to be amended for a previously approved affordable residential project generally located approximately 100 feet north of the Main Street and Pool Street intersection. Could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. Planning application PA 22-0996 is a modification application to request revisions to a previously approved conditions of approval for Vine Creek. And really where this request is coming from the applicant is because when this project was approved back in 2019, Since that time, they've been working with the state of California to obtain certain incentives because they're an affordable project. It's taken this long for the state to finally give them the go-ahead to move forward. And once that has happened, they're on a very, very tight shot clock, if you will, to get their building permit. So the applicant approached staff to get a little bit of help with some of the timing of when certain thresholds need to be met for the COAs. So that's really what's the genesis of this request. So with that being said, since it's been a while since this project was in here and approved by the Planning Commission, I just wanted to give a quick background of it just to kind of refresh your minds of it. The project's generally located there in the red box area you see before you, near the intersection of Pujol and Main Street. As I mentioned earlier, it was approved back in 2019, and it consisted of a development plan for an affordable project, a tentative parcel map, we had a minor exception for the parking, and then there was also a certificate of historical appropriateness because the specific plan stipulates that the old railroad turntable might have been located there at the project site. I'll just give you a quick site plan. It consists of two buildings. You can see there, buildings A and building B. Here we have the 2 points of ingress egress for vehicles, some pedestrian access points. And then we have the amenities. There's a tot lot, there's a pool, little grass open space area, clubhouse, things of that nature. So there are a lot of COA revisions, as I'm sure you saw when you went through the staff report. And I'm not going to read them all verbatim. I'll just kind of give you the gist of them. And certainly if you want to talk about one, we can certainly do that. But I'll go through the development plan revisions by discipline, and then we'll go to the map revisions by discipline. So first we'll talk about the planning changes for the development plan. We're going to make a change to condition of approval number 21. You can see the strike out there where the landscape pre-construction meeting is now going to occur prior to the start of construction. For 36, we're going to totally get rid of that COA because they are not in a burrowing owl zone, so we're able to get rid of that. Number 42, we're going to remove the requirement for all downspouts to be internalized, and that'll be allowed to be on the exterior of the building. And we'll see a few elevations a little later on in the presentation to see what that's all about. Number 57, the building construction plans for outdoor areas. We're basically saying that we need to have, what type of tables and chairs are you using, what's your tot lot equipment, all that kind of stuff. We want to see that prior to the start of construction instead of prior to building plan issuance. Roof mounted mechanical equipment, that all needs to be installed per the approved entitlement plans. It's number 59, making a little change there. Number 42, we're going to remove the requirement for the environmental constraint sheet. And for number 89, we're actually going to move that COA to a new location. It was previously at prior to issuance of grading permit. It'll now be prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy. And I have a few more here. Number 100, we're moving into public works now, their requirements. Number 100, the final map shall be submitted for review instead of having to actually be approved and recorded. We're going to get rid of number 101, the Western Bypass Corridor COA, that no longer applies. We'll make some changes here to number 102, as you can see. For the construction of street improvements, they need to be submitted to Public Works for review and approval. A few more, a little more movement here on some of these COAs. Number 103, the undergrounding of the wire, of the electrical wires that are out there. Currently, that's listed as to be prior to issuance of building permit. We're going to move that to prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. We're going to do the same for number 104 with the floodplain and floodway development. We're just going to switch its location for its timing threshold. Number 106, again, sticking with Public Works. All certifications, we can see here, should the start of grading be delayed, the required certification shall be submitted prior to scheduling of the first inspection. And then for number 107, we're going to show all work that needs to be completed with regard to Pujol Street improvements, and the streetlights need to be installed and operational. And we've added a few conditions of approval from Public Works that were not on the original COAs, and that's numbers 111 and 112, dealing with the final map, and then also, again, with construction of street improvements. Building and safety had a change. Number 128, down there on 128B, they're going from the 2016 California Building Code to the 2019. And fire also had a change. On number 135, they're changing the GPM amount from 3,500 to 2,400. That's been okayed by the fire department. Getting onto the map now, there are several revisions from Public Works. Again, here's that western bypass COA. We're going to eliminate that. 25A, we have some changes there down at the bottom as far as what needs to be installed. And again, some more movement of COAs. Number 27, the underground wires are going to move to prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy. That's when that will need to be met. And then for number 37, again, talking about the floodplain and floodway development, we're going to move that to prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy. Again, the final map just needs to be submitted for review, not actually approved and recorded. And then number 45, move to prior certificate of occupancy, again, with that floodway and floodway development COA. And we just have a few more. Number 46, we're making a change here to the precise grading plan requirements. As far as needing to have a rough grading plan, they're going to go right to precise. And then number 47, the completion of the types of improvements, we're making it a little more specific. We have numbers A and B down there, needing to have Pujol Street improvements taken care of, as well as, again, the street lights. And then finally, the last one, at number 51, with regard to the final map, that needs to be approved and recorded prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. We'll now take a quick look here at some of the elevations, and it's important to note that the colors, the materials, the design, that's already been approved by the Planning Commission. That's all done. This is purely just to allow downspouts to be on the exterior of the building. And we have here Building A, and if you look closely, you can see, even particularly along the edges here, you can see the downspouts. They're just decorative small downspouts that run through. They complement the architecture. And then we have the view from the internal parking lot there on the bottom. Then we have the sides. You can see the downspouts there. Moving on to Building B, the top is the view from Marietta Creek, and the bottom is from that internal parking lot. The downspouts they're so small they almost kind of get lost in the elevation. And there we have the side views as well. We did receive a letter from flood control today, which is at the dais for you to take a look at. Public Works reviewed that letter, and it's their standard stock letter from flood control. The project is already conditioned to meet the requirements of that letter, and the applicant's been made aware of it as well. So there's no change there. There's nothing of concern there with that letter that we weren't already anticipating. From a CEQA perspective, these changes allow the project to remain exempt per section 15162, subsequent EARs and negative declarations. And based on the information I just presented, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the project based on the required findings and the condition of approval revisions. This concludes our presentation. I'm available for any questions. We have the applicant here as well if you'd like to speak with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I'll open it up to my colleagues for any questions of staff.
Thank you for that. Thanks for addressing the letter, because I did have a question about that. And then if I'm understanding correctly, everything here is really just centered around timing to allow the applicant to receive incentives for an affordable project. So
Yes.
if these were not approved, they would be subject to losing that incentive for the project?
What would essentially, I can let the applicant speak a little more clearly on it, but what would essentially happen is they need to get their building permit by, I believe it's December 12th. They've got to have it in hand to give to the state. If they don't do that, the state takes away all their incentives for being an affordable project, and then the project is not viable for the applicant. But again, he can discuss that in more depth if you'd like.
Yeah, and I would add to that, it's not really taking away their incentives. They have tax credit financing in the millions of dollars that's at stake if they aren't able to get a building permit prior to that date. So it's not an incentive, it's actually a significant portion of the financing for the project that will be at stake. And what this is really doing is attempting to assist them with some of the thresholds so that we can push some of them off because the timing is so short. We want to make sure they get that building permit, get that financing, and then we can get it built.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thanks for the explanation.
I assume the letter from flood control, there's COAs in there, but there's no objection to anything.
No.
Is there any other agency that we could hear from or they could hear from that could have objections?
Well, the project itself is already approved,
Right.
and that letter was a result of them flood control being noticed for the project because they own property right
Right,
next door. That's the only letter and the only agency I received any comments from regarding this. Yeah.
So no other agency's going to try to stop this?
No, this already
Unlikely.
went to planning commission, was approved, and
Right.
so.
Yeah, it'd be unlikely because none of the conditions that are changing are conditions that came from those outside agencies.
Okay.
They're planning and public works department conditions.
Right. Okay, yeah, they're all are internal, not external to county or any state agencies or anything like that. Okay, that's it.
Okay, I thank you, Eric. Very good presentation. I will go ahead and open up the public hearing. Do
We have no request to speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We would like the applicant, however, to come up and give us the opportunity to ask any questions and make comments. Start over here this time, Adam.
Okay, now I'm surprised. So I'm really thrilled to see this project go forward. I think it's something that's, very much needed and will be extremely successful in this community. So I want to congratulate you and thank you for what you're doing to bring this forward. And, just want to make sure that there was nothing else to get in your way.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, we've been working for, I don't know, Luke, 7 years, 8 years to get this project off the ground, so we're very excited. It was many attempts to get this state financing, and just to give you a little explanation on that, typically, you apply to the state, and you could kind of see a list of all the developers and deals that were submitted. You can kind of get a gauge on whether your projects can get financing. This was a little bit different. I mean, they literally funded the project of money that was left over. So they give you 6 months to pull building permits. Once they notify you, 6 months you pull the building permits or you forfeit the financing altogether. So sometimes we're able to get a 3-4 month head start. This wasn't the case. So a perfect example is the undergrounding of the power lines. I mean, that in itself would take over 12 to 14 months to do. So there were just some items that we're just not able to do in time. It's not that they're not going to be done, it's just at a different time in the process.
Okay, thanks.
Can I add one thing real quick too that we didn't really talk about too, but I think it's important for the planning commission to know is that the city of Temecula is participating in this project as an investor really. So we have over $6 million dedicated to this project. So I think that was just an important point for, there's a compelling public interest to this project.
I don't think we have any more questions for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I will now close the public hearing and can discuss it or make a motion or both.
Can I just
Go
make a
ahead.
comment before me?
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. I think it's really nice to hear that this does sound like something that's definitely needed. It's important to the residents, and we've talked about having some type of attainable housing and affordable housing come too. So to hear that we're working with an applicant in that way and to help them and make sure that we're all working, to get that same end goal, it's really rewarding, honestly. It's nice to hear.
And also, it's a beautiful project.
Yeah.
So I think the Temecula way, something like that. Heard that before.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the project.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Hagel, seconded by Commissioner Ruiz. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We look forward to seeing the project completed soon. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay, we will now move to item number 7, long-range project number LR 21-0279, an amendment to the Old Town Specific Plan to revise certain development standards and land use standards. Mr. Eric Jones is going to give us a staff report, I believe, again.
Thank you. LR 21-0279 is an amendment to the Old Town Specific Plan to revise certain development standards and use standards as well. Really, the genesis of this project is we've had the opportunity to work with the current specific plan, that version of it, for several years now. And as we've done that, we've worked on everything from simple TUPs all the way up to complex development plans. And we've worked with, obviously, all our applicants, developers and whatnot. And as we go through that, you start learning things that you want to change or things you want to tweak. And we've kind of been keeping a log of that. And now we've gotten to the point where we're ready to present these changes and have them put into the actual code itself. So the different revisions you're going to see here are going to apply to the various areas of Old Town. I've just obviously shown the boundaries here of Old Town just to kind of refamiliarize yourself with it. And what I'll do now is just briefly state what the revisions are, and then we'll talk about each of them individually. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be revising the maximum building height for 3- and 4-story buildings in the downtown core area. We're also going to allow a new frontage type for raised outdoor patios on commercial structures. We're going to revise commercial ground floor facade standards, revise the parking setback standards. We're also going to clarify architectural language for roof lines, for varied roof lines and fencing. We're going to include residential limited mixed-use zones in the non-conforming language of the code. We're also going to provide some clarifying language for utility locations in the alleys. We're going to amend the use matrix to allow for beer tasting, escape rooms, entertainment, as well as the different restaurant types that we have here in the city. And then finally, we're going to revise the language associated with bed and breakfast establishments in Old Town. So first we'll discuss the maximum building heights. So right now for 3- and 4-story structures in the downtown core, right now they're 50 feet. We're going to allow for 5 extra feet to go to 55. And the reason for that is the California Energy Code and the Mechanical Code, they've become a lot more stringent. Before, the space between floors, you could maybe crimp your HVAC system, or the different piping and whatnot could all be kind of crimped down a little bit. Now it can't be like that anymore. It all has to be perfectly round, can't be crimped or anything like that. So in working with developers and whatnot, we've learned that an extra 5 feet can really go a long way to helping them meet those requirements. So that's where that's coming from. For raised commercial front porch standards, we want to allow a 2-foot raised first floor porch for commercial structures. And this is really an ideal height for outdoor dining. As we saw in the pandemic, lots of outdoor dining and whatnot. And if you've ever been to the gas lamp, if you're doing your outdoor dining, people can walk by and look directly at your plate as you're walking by. 2 feet seems to be a really nice, ideal height where folks that are walking along the street are kind of eye to eye somewhat with people sitting down and eating. And the example I show here is actually the swing in. That little red line you see right there, that's 2 feet. So that's about how high we would be allowing this new frontage type to go. We think it'd be a really nice way for outdoor diners to enjoy their experience even more. For commercial ground floor facades, we're changing the language in the code. Right now the code says that you can't use aluminum shop front or spandrel panels only on the bulkhead, which is basically just the bottom part of the building. We're going to change it so that way those materials can't be used on the entire first floor. So what that's going to do, the image there on the left, that's not what we want. We don't want the aluminum shop front, the spandrel glass. We want what you see on the right. And clarifying that language will allow us to more easily attain that when we're working with our different developers and applicants. Next is dealing with the setbacks for parking structures. The Old Town specific plan requires that if you're going to have a parking structure, the first floor along the pedestrian pathways needs to have at least 20, but ideally 50 feet of setback there so that we could have some type of shop. So it's not just you're walking along and all of a sudden you just see rows of cars. You've got different activities and whatnot in there. But the SP says that that separation of 20 to 50 feet has to apply to all the floors. So what we want to do is we want to change that to where you can see the little red area here. We're going to maintain those retail spots, those commercial spots along the first floor. But in this example here, this is what we want to mimic. We want to make it to where cars can actually be parked up to the build to line, like you see here. So that way we maintain the commercial activity, the pedestrian activity along the first floor, but we're allowing more space on the upper floors where it doesn't really so much matter for extra vehicles to be parked or whatever the developer needs to have there as long as it's in conformance with the use matrix. For varied roof lines, the language really is not clear in the current specific plan that we want to have varied roof lines. It's in our design guidelines, it's in our municipal code, but just putting in a quick blurb in the language here, basically saying that roof lines also need to be varied, just helps us out as we're working with our applicants. For fencing, we have requirements in the specific plan right now for fencing if you're doing any type of outdoor dining, but we don't really have anything for if you're not doing outdoor dining. And if you've been out along Old Town here, I'm sure you've seen it, there's a fence next to the Palomar Hotel. There were no requirements for that. So we realized we need to put some things in the specific plan to take care of that type of situation. So what we've basically done is there'll be language in there that highlights the materials that are required, the height that can be, and we're also going to be very clear that you can't have chain link fencing, because people ask about that all the time. So we want to be able to cut that off. Non-conforming uses, we're going to add the residential limited mixed use zone to the non-conforming use language. That non-conforming use language is really designed for commercial structures and projects. And it appears to have just kind of been it was a miss when the specific plan was first put into place. This residential limited mixed use should have also been in that section. So we're just cleaning that up now. With regard to utility locations, the specific plan says that utilities do need to be located in the alleys. But we're going to update that language to say that they need to not only be included in the alleys, but they need to be undergrounded unless the utility says it's not feasible. That way everything is down, it's undergrounded, and in the alley where it belongs for different types of utilities. With regard to the use matrix, we're going to be removing nightclubs. And the reason for that is because they will fall under the entertainment license that was approved earlier this year. So that's why that'll be removed. We're also going to add beer tasting for requiring a CUP. And the escape rooms also need to require a CUP. And those land use determinations have already been made. And then entertainment license obviously will be included in the use matrix. We're also going to include all the restaurant types that we see not only throughout the city, but in Old Town. And this kind of dovetails really with the entertainment license, makes it more clear. So we're going to have, if you're going to be a restaurant, you can choose either to be a restaurant without alcohol, or you can have beer and wine. You can have beer, wine, distilled spirits, or you could be classified as a restaurant with entertainment that doesn't have any dancing, or you could be a restaurant with entertainment that does have dancing. And again, this all ties in with the entertainment license that was approved earlier in the year. And with regard to bed and breakfasts, we're basically going to make the bed and breakfast language in the specific plan to be consistent with what's already in the municipal code. The specific plan says that you don't have to let the primary residence be the primary use of the site, and it also doesn't require you to have the minimum lot sizes, and all that is in the municipal code. So we're basically going to make it match the municipal code. We did take these amendments to subcommittees. We went to the Planning Commission Old Town Subcommittee back in July. We also went to, it was a noticed City Council Old Town Steering Committee that was also in July, about a week or so later. Both committees did receive the amendments favorably. I don't remember that. With regard to SB 18, this is a specific plan amendment, so we have to follow SB 18. We've had requests from 15 tribes. There's only one tribe that we're still waiting to hear back from, but we won't take this to City Council until after their comment period is over, and that period ends on November 14th. From a CEQA perspective, this project follows Section 15164. We created an addendum to the AR. A subsequent EAR was not needed because there are no conditions that are described in Section 15162 that require that, so we didn't have to go that route. And based on the information presented, staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council approve the proposed amendments to the Old Town Specific Plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Good report. Do we have any questions of Mr. Jones?
Starting this way again?
If you have a question or...
So just one question is, do these changes take effect here forward, or how does it impact the structures in place? So like the chain link fence, for example, would that be required to be changed if this were to get approved, or how does it affect the existing structures there?
Nobody should have a chain link fence up right now, because in our development code, that's already not permitted. But once these changes, if this gets ultimately approved by City Council and it gets past its 30-day reread, then moving forward, all new stuff coming in will have to adhere to these requirements.
Got it. Okay.
That was also one of my questions, so thank you for that. Okay, two other quick questions on number 8, amending the use matrix for beer tasting, escape room. Oh, yeah. and types of restaurant definitions. So will all of those still that are related to alcohol will still have to have CUPs, correct?
Yes, if you're going to have distilled spirits, you need to have a conditional use permit.
Right.
That's not changing.
And also, and then with the entertainment, that's with the entertainment ordinance.
Yes, the one that you saw earlier in the year and that was ultimately approved. That is correct.
So does, as far as the entertainment ordinance, do they come here for that? Do they come to the planning commission on that? Or that's something that's,
They would come to the planning commission for the CUP for alcohol.
but not the.
They don't need to for
Not the
entertainment.
ordinance, yeah,
No.
correct. Okay, then the last question I have is, what do you mean by the 15 tribes?
So we have to conform to California Senate Bill 18, SB 18, and we're required to reach out to the Native American Heritage Commission. And the Native American Heritage Commission provides us with a list of Native American tribes that are allowed to comment on a project. And we received our list, which had 15 tribes on it. And of the 14 that I've received comments back from, they all either deferred to the Pechanga tribe or basically said they're not concerned about any of this. And the Pechanga tribe actually even said, we're not concerned about any of this. So what we're doing is we're going to wait until the comment period is over, which is November 14th, to give that one tribe just their due to if they want to comment or not. And then once we hear back from them or don't hear back from them after the 14th, we will go to City Council for hopefully final approval.
So is that the case in, I've never heard that. So is that the case in anything that we do? We have to,
When you do a specific plan amendment, a zone
Okay.
change, a GPA,
do.
you're required to do that process.
interesting,
So
okay,
we've done it before.
thank you.
We've done it on all of them.
Okay. To get into the timing a little bit deeper, let's just say this gets approved by us and City Council, and there is a date that it goes into effect. Those that have submitted plans that have not been approved yet, would it impact them? Or only new plans submitted after that date? So trying to get a better feel for those that are in process, how it affects them.
They would have to abide by these new requirements.
Okay, so
And we have one in now, and they already know this is coming, and they've tailored their application to fit this
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
So other than those that have been approved, anything that's in process, it still applies to? Okay. Has this been before the Old Town Committee?
The Old Town Local Review Board,
Yeah,
you mean?
The Old Town Local Review Board can't field a quorum right now, so we don't have enough members.
Okay.
So we would have taken it to the Old Town
Right.
Local Review Board, but it's not possible.
okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. With that, I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
We have none.
With that, I will close the public hearing.
I so move. Long-range project number LR 21-0279.
And I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Turley Trejo, seconded by Commissioner Ruiz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's a 4-0 vote in the affirmative. Thank you for that. We are fast approaching the end of our agenda. Commissioner reports. Bob, would you like to lead off if you have any reports tonight?
Sure. Yes, I attended the APA 2022 conference Sunday and Monday of whatever week it was, last week, 2 weeks ago. And just a couple things. One, I attended the keynote speech in the morning that was presented by, actually there's kind of two. There was a city council member from the city of Anaheim and was talking about the redevelopment process they went through over probably a 25 year period, and the challenges they had. And And from what I've seen through driving through the city, it's been quite successful. So they've done a very good job. The rest of the keynote speech was by Disney, and they talked about what I would say would be a super complex planning project, which was the new hotel they built in Florida that is the Star Wars Starship, Star Cruiser Hotel. And they talked about the first meeting that they had. They went into the planning meeting with the county and said, we'd like to build a hotel with no windows. All the elevators are going to be spaceships, and all the doors will automatically open and close. And probably the part it's okay with you is all the doors will go swish. So, and they said, you're right, the only thing that we can approve right now is the sound. The rest of it is, outside of the state of Florida's building code. So they had to start with that and work their way, forward, and how complex it was just to get the permit to build it, let alone to actually engineer and build a hotel that you have no idea that you're in a hotel, that you think you're on another planet. And the purpose of the hotel is to have 2-day experiences with your family that are live experiences with actors acting out Star Wars type movies and everything. So it kind of set the precedence for, if we think we have difficult planning projects, this is one that you can probably compare to. And I think it gives everybody the opportunity to say, no matter how complex it is, there is ways to work through it. And, they did. So a lot of what I sat in on was related to housing element. RENA, there are some cities that haven't even started, and the deadline is coming up in a couple months. The other big topic was vehicles, VMT, and how difficult it has been for many cities to mitigate VMT, how difficult it has been for some cities to even come up with a VMT number, a base number for their city. And the thing that really struck me the most is how everything that they brought up, we've already done. And they asked anybody, they went through a list of 5 things and asked anybody if they had a success story for any of those 5 things. And we have a success story for all those 5 things. If I knew more detail, I would have got up and talked about it. But it just really hit me that we are so fortunate to have such a great staff. We're very fortunate to have the revenues coming into this city that allows us to get great consultants when we need them, and to be able to do all the things that we need to do to meet all these requirements. There were cities that said, because they couldn't mitigate VMT, they had to turn down new housing developments. And, here the city is, or the state is trying to encourage new housing, and at the same time, there are things that are in the way that we've been very fortunate that we've been able to mitigate, and some other cities certainly have not been able to mitigate. The more rural a community is, the more difficult it is to mitigate that. One city was saying, well, they were giving out busing passes. The only problem they had is there was no buses. But that was the only thing that they could afford to do to try to mitigate, VMTs. So we're really fortunate to be the size city we are, where we're located, the staff we have, the city councils that we've had with all of the many, many forward-thinking years, in planning, and it just really hit me that what we have, I think we take for granted to some extent. When you listen to a lot of other locations throughout California, you all of a sudden realize how difficult it is. So the other thing that struck me was there was some developers there, which was great to hear from them. And there was some state agencies there that basically said, you know, a lot of this has been pushed down on us, and we don't have all the answers. We're looking to you for the answers, and as long as you have reasonable explanations, we're willing to accept that and work with you. So I was pleased to hear, you know, some people from the state saying, we'll work with you, and I think that was great. Oh, I also had an opportunity to have breakfast with a couple of students that were just graduating, and had lunch with a person who had just graduated and started a new job with the city. And I thought it was kind of funny. He was saying, you know, here I am sitting here meeting you, and I have not met anybody I work with yet because it's all been done, you know, through Zoom. That we still haven't gone back to our offices yet. And I, you know, have had no contact with anybody. So he said, this is such a great thing to get to an APA meeting and actually meet people live. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Thank you, Bob. And Zoom is a bad word we don't use around here anymore. Real quickly, I had a chance to also attend the same conference, and I'm sure much of our planning staff took part, if they could, either in person or online or whatever. And real quickly, the adaptive reuse, reutilization of retail and commercial property into housing and multi-use and that type of thing was what I focused on, because I just view that as a huge problem and opportunity for the city in the future. And you know, real quick editorial comment, I was very disappointed by the content of the conference. There was a lot of stuff that was dealing with problems, but there was nothing dealing with pressing problems that I consider a city issue. Nothing with future water use or water planning. Homelessness, there was not much of anything that I could see that dealt with homeless problems and that from a planning perspective. So that's just something I wanted to mention, that I was a little disappointed and they didn't have more sessions that dealt with some of the real life problems that we deal with on a daily basis. But I will say that I was very encouraged by the sessions on adaptive reuse and reutilization, and there's some good examples out there. So I think that's going to be an exciting time for us in the next few years. So that's quickly my report. I know some people, nothing? Okay, good. We will go on to, I think, Community Development Director is next.
Good evening. I agree with you. I think adaptive reuse is going to be the wave of the planning future for Temecula over the next, 20 or 30 years. So, I mean, obviously we have the Uptown specific plan that is built around adaptive reuse. So I agree with you, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come on that as we update the general plan. So, couple things. Last year at the budget, we were lucky enough to get a handful of new positions. So we've been working on filling those out over the last year. We finally come kind of to the end of the line of getting everybody on board. And I wanted to introduce you to our two newest planners, Yanine Marquez. Hi, Yanine, there she is. She's not new to the city. She was a building tech, but she got promoted over to planning tech. And so she's here tonight. We want to thank her for all her work and introduce you to her as a new planner. And then we also have Katie Garcia, who is also not new to the city of Temecula. She's had a number of different positions, most recently coming from Public Works. So she's going to be working in our long range. Yanine will be working in our current planning division. I just wanted to introduce them. There they are. We're very happy to have them. And they are both brand new mothers. So we're excited to.
It's their break.
Yeah. We are excited to support them in their careers and also in their new motherhood. So thank you guys for coming. Secondly, next Tuesday, there's going to be I'm doing a council presentation on a project that's being proposed in the county, very, very large project called the Winchester Community Plan. Kind of caught us by surprise a little bit. I'll get into more of that on Tuesday. I think it'd be very important for you to watch that presentation so you understand what's going on. It's a bit of a pressing problem. They're proposing over 33,000 new residential units out there. So please watch that, and then we'll circle back around. There'll be more discussions on that going on in the future. And then lastly, don't forget, next Thursday is the tour. Starting here at 8 o'clock, we'll have breakfast, we'll have lunch. It'll be a great time. So see you then. That's it.
Thank you, Luke. Ron, Public Works report?
So for Public Works, we organized a team up with CR&R to do a citywide cleanup. So that's at Chaparral High School this Saturday, 8 to 2. So right before the holidays, we're encouraging everybody to take advantage of this time to bring anything you want to get rid of, large items, everything. So that's at Chaparral High School this Saturday, 8 to 2. And then wanted to make sure you guys are aware, as you recall, we had to cancel the closure of the 15 and 215 due to the urban fire. That's, just as a reminder, that is this Sunday night, 10 p.m. to 5:30 a.m., complete shutdown of both freeways at Murrieta Hot Springs all the way down to Winchester. So there will be detours available. Jefferson, you can also go down Jackson, Los Alamos. There's going to be avenues that are available, but this is a complete, full closure. So there will be no on, no off. So want to make sure you're aware, and that's the next two Sundays.
Just avoid the area at all.
Yeah. 10 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. the next 2 Sundays. The first one's for Edison. The second one's for some fiber optics, some charter communications.
But just a reminder, it's not a city project. Just want to make that clear. Not a city project.
By that, Luke is correct. By franchise agreement, they are required to remove their facilities due to a project we have upcoming.
Ron, come on. I had it. It was good.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, good. With that, we're going to
Mr. Chair,
adjourn.
before you adjourn, I'm sorry, I had one question that I wanted to ask. Sorry about that. I think I brought it up here before, but the idea of utilizing the app or somewhere where approved projects that people are always asking about, has that been looked into at all? I mean, I see stuff on social media. If another person asks what's going on to where the old Marie Callender's is, I'm going to lose it because it's just constant. But something like that where we've approved projects, and if it worked with like the mapping that you do to report a problem to code enforcement, would be fantastic.
Yeah, we're working on that. In fact, I saw a beta version of that just last week. So it's going to be a GIS mapped where you can see all the planning projects, all the projects in process, and you can click on it and it'll tell you not only what's going on there, but all the past history, all the past building permits, all the past approvals, and you kind of be able to get that real-time look at it. It's a lot of data that goes into that, an incredible amount of data, and they're building it out, so it's coming. But yes, we hear you on that, and hopefully it won't be too long before we have that rolled out to the public.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet. And one last comment. We are very lucky as a commission to have staff, planning staff here that supports us and brings the city's business here. So I just want to thank each and every one of your staff, Luke, and all you individuals and the ones that aren't here tonight for constantly doing a great job. Appreciate it much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, with that, we're going to adjourn until our next meeting on November 2nd. Thank you. Good night.